Stand up. But hey, we are here. We know it's March, and we definitely want to give you a little bit of that has been going on in March. But March also signifies free agency and trades and moves left and right. And Will, I have to tell you, 2021 and 2022, the rosters are going to be completely different. I mean, there are so many big name guys that are moving from one place to another. A week ago, we talked about Devontae Adams going with one of his old best friends, Carr, over with the Raiders. That offense is making big things happen. We've seen a lot of the moves left and right. Juju going over to the Chiefs, which prompted Tyreek to make big, baller money now with the Miami Dolphins. So there's a lot of moves and things being made, but we are Washington Football Weekly, ladies and gentlemen, and we are here to talk about us, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get into it with the Washington Offseason recap as of 3/23/22, which is today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get into this, but outside of last Wednesday, ain't really much to really get into outside of Wentz and maybe a couple moves a week ago. Like, what do you got, man?
Man, you're talking about the Dolphins just traded and signed Tyreek Hill, and Washington re-signed Danny Johnson. That's where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. We're signing fifth-string corners right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. Exactly. There is nothing exciting about our offseason. And we got a sixth-string quarterback as well.
See?
Oh, my God.
Special team guys. That's right.
Yeah. There's nothing exciting about what we're doing. It's not. We're filling the roster. If I'm going to look positive at it and really what are they doing? They're filling the roster. We didn't have a lot of we didn't have a whole lot of starter holes to offer. Yeah. We signed Bobby McCain. He was our starting free safety. There's a hole at middle linebacker that we haven't signed, but there's not too many holes that we needed to fill as starters. It's all about the depth, and they're being very, very frugal with their money and these contracts right now. And so all the names that we're bringing in are not exciting. Them boys ain't shaking in their boots right now over who we're bringing in.
But they're not doing great themselves.
No,
we've seen some moves they've been making.
Exactly, cutting. Had a guy left. But it is an important part of the roster building is building the depth and and we saw as we had so many injuries along the offensive line, among our linebackers, our defensive ends, that it is important that we do pick up some of these guys. It's just, for an off season, it's just, who we're about to talk about is not exactly most exciting.
Right. Right. And you and I were even sitting there you hit me up, I think it was 2:00 this morning. Do we really? There's not much to go into. Do we want to do this?
Right.
But hey, cooler heads prevail. We did get into this because there has been a number of things that happened, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Depth. We sat there. We talked about Apke, Johnson. They're not going to get starting, PT, but they will get in there just in case we have the injuries, which we have been prone to in the last couple of years. One of the things I've been looking at, you talked about McCain coming back. He's another one in that cornerback and secondary situation. O-line is something that's huge. We talked about Larson a week ago, re-signing him. We got Toth back. Just a couple moves and Norwell. The other move we got from Jacksonville, a couple moves for either starter in Norwell, but also depth, maybe in Toth, guys that we can bring in if necessary. Another position that we needed that used to be a strength, D-line. Today, we signed F.A. Abada from the Lions, or was it from Buffalo?
The Bills from Buffalo.
Yeah, from Buffalo. Out of 10 games a year ago, only had 3.5 sacks, something like that. But there's a lot of names on that defense, so I kind of look at him maybe as a potential Tim Settle. Something to fill that. We got Danny Wise that we got from there. Go ahead.
So I can't say I know a whole lot about him.
No.
but right, he's got a fun last name. But I did look at his stats. So guess what? Guess who he played for at one point?
Who?
The Carolina Panthers.
Let's go. There's a theme there.
Right. We are. JP Finley coined it this week. He calls us the Commanders, and it's perfect because we have so many Panther players on this team. But this Obata guy didn't know who he was, truthfully. But in 2020, he had 5.5 sacks for the Panthers. Okay. He had 3.5 sacks last year for the Bills in 10 games. The Bills had a pretty good defensive front. There's a lot, he didn't have a whole lot of playing time. So I think what you're seeing here. Does it change? Mm-hmm. Last year at this time, we would say our interior defensive line was our strength with the 4 players who could be starters on any team. Now we've got the outside of our defensive line. Got Sweat, Young, you've got James Smith-Williams, and now you've got this guy who can be those depth pieces should they go down. So, again, it's not that exciting, but, these are the moves. We talked about, hey, maybe we can get like a JPP to come in, maybe a Ryan Kerrigan. Here's the same type of player. It's just someone we don't really know a whole lot about.
Right. So and let's hope they come in there and make an impact. Like I said, but like I was saying, I alluded to earlier, Wise is another one that we picked up that we had him on the team a year ago and he's back. So we like that. One of the things that you and I had talked about, one of the things you mentioned just a little bit earlier. The one place that we have not addressed that we felt since last year that we needed to focus on was a glaring hole is middle linebacker. Now, we did make one move. We re-signed Milo Eisler, linebacker. What did he play for us last year, Will?
He did. This guy's very famous. If you remember in the Dallas game, Sunday Night Football, they allow for player introductions. We had so many injuries, and we signed this guy off the street that there was not a picture or an introduction for this guy. They went through the lineup, and that's when they went from I think it was, what did they say, Deron Payne, and they said, this is Cole Holcomb, and then they just panned a blank picture, and then they went, Landon Collins.
Right.
Wow. That was rock bottom.
The
season's hitting rock bottom.
Oh, man. So, hey, you got a spot on the team, and familiarity is definitely a huge, huge deal. We signed Cam Sims. He's been with us for the last several years. So having somebody that has kind of knows kind of the structure and the coaching staff and what we're doing is a positive thing. He'll definitely be that depth that we need. And look, like you said, Will, that depth is what we're doing. Depth is what we appear to be addressing. It's not flashy. It's not shiny, but it's necessity. It's necessary. We need to make sure that we get these guys, because if we have a situation like we've had a year ago with, our 2 main defensive ends going down, or we had a situation like a couple years ago, or Logan Thomas as well, or a couple years ago with, 4 different quarterbacks, something like that. We need depth, offensive and defensive. And even that kicker, signing Brian Johnson, we need depth.
Well,
with that,
go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted. You go ahead.
No, I was going to start talking about the people that we've cut.
Okay. Well, the only thing that there's a theme with the depth, which is good, is we're keeping a lot of our players. These aren't guys that we're just bringing in who are learning the system and we're seeing if they mesh. These are guys who have said, hey, we're going to give you a chance to go out in free agency. They look around and they say, actually, I'd rather come back there. That's not a Washington thing. That's
yes.
We're normally having to overpay to get you to come here. It hasn't been announced just yet, but it appears that Cornelius Lucas is going to re-sign tonight or tomorrow. Nice. So that's your swing tackle. Again, a player who had to spot start 8 games last year. That means he's in his 3rd year with us. You talked about John Toth. That's not a name to get excited about, but he's a center who already knows the system. So when we had as many injuries as we did last year, these guys can come in and step in because they know the terminology. They know what they're supposed to be doing. That's got to be a good thing.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's definitely needed. Now, let me ask you, because like I alluded to earlier, we're also talking about who we cut. We talked about this before. Shazer Everett for off the field issues. Ioannidis was one of those that, because of the trade and that whole situation, he was a casualty of that. And, like we alluded to a week ago, he was not happy about that at all. Tim Settle, we let him, he was able to get picked up by Buffalo. And Landon Collins, another one that we had high hopes for coming into the offseason, but because of the contract, he was able to get cut. I honestly think it kind of lends to the question, have we gotten better at this point?
I would say emphatically yes, because we improved at the. Oh no. You able to hear me now?
Nothing. Bear with us just a minute, ladies and gentlemen, while we have technical.
How are we doing now?
Nothing. Yeah, go out and come back in. Yeah, buddy, ladies and gentlemen, while we get him back, we do want to ask that question. Have we gotten better, ladies and gentlemen? We've seen the moves we made, nothing super flashy with the exception of the Carson Wentz trade. And we're going to dive into this a little bit later, but, this guy, I'm continually looking at it in a more optimistic and a more positive light because of the fact that he, I think, will revolutionize our offense with that deep ball. Now, one of the things we're talking about, O-line, depth, keeping him upright. That is a huge, huge deal. Let's see if we can get him back. Will.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Can't hear me this time.
No.
Still got nothing.
Let me see something.
What's happening?
Really? Might be me. Hold up. You're on mute.
Now try it.
Nope. Yep. Give me a second. Bear with us, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, buddy. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. That was definitely on my end. My headphones linked up to my phone.
Yeah,
Forgot.
buddy, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. That was definitely on
my headphones.
So we good?
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Nice.
Yeah, we're good.
Excellent.
All on me. Sorry for the technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. If you are just now joining us, this is Washington Football Weekly here for you on this Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. And we've been talking about the free agents. We've been talking about the guys that we either re-signed or brought in via trade or free agency, and also the guys that we had to cut because of some of those moves and vice versa. And the question I asked you coming into this before the whole technical difficulties, have we gotten better, Will?
Yeah, I think the answer is an emphatic yes, because we improved at a position that we were deficient in, and that's a quarterback. And it's a very important position that we've improved in. Is Carson Wentz a top 10 quarterback? No. But is he better than Taylor Heinicke? And does he put us in the mix? Is he capable of putting pressure on defenses and testing their secondary? Absolutely. And so, without a doubt, we are a better team. I think of all the players we've lost so far, the only one from like a starter standpoint or like production standpoint that we really could say, is Landon Collins. Yeah. But I think the idea behind that is Jamin Davis is going to kind of take over some of that role. So in a sense, we haven't lost a lot yet, but we gained a lot more with the addition of Carson Wentz.
Right. And that's kind of where I started with it. I kind of tried to figure out by position, and one of the big holes that we've talked about is quarterback. That was an issue. We knew Taylor Heinicke, for however great he was a backup quarterback. He's going to be a backup guy in this league, and I'll take him for that in Washington. Bringing in Carson Wentz, this man for everything that people say, he plays hero ball. He's never gotten over, the injury and having Nick Foles come and take his job. All these things. He was 27-7 last year with name the receivers he had outside of Michael Pittman. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Mo Alley Cox. He didn't have T.Y. for most of that year. I think Pascal even left. So he did a great, he had some good movement down the field. He helped that offense go toe-to-toe with Tom Brady, go toe-to-toe with Aaron Rodgers, and a bunch of these, you know what I'm saying? So he can play, and that is a clear improvement. Also with kicker, one of the things that we dealt with a year ago was that we had Hopkins, and we couldn't do anything else. So him being in his head, him not being able to kick was a detriment to the team. Then we went through, blew it, a couple other guys to get to Joey Sly. Now we got Brian Johnson. We talked about him a week ago. Now we have two guys on there. I think we need that. I mean, obviously we saw there was an issue a year ago. Depth, we talked about it earlier. I think we need those two positions. I think we definitely improved that. Everything else, and overall the team, I think so. I think we've improved, if not for anything else than just the culture. And like you alluded to earlier, we're bringing in guys and bringing back guys that may have had an opportunity to go elsewhere and get paid. We talked last week about J.D. McKissick at the 11th hour saying, you know what, I'm going to stay in Washington. That doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Excuse me. A lot of these guys want to come here, and I think that's good for us. So have we gotten better overall? I think so. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely something I am excited about, because that's the goal. Now can we get even better? Yes, absolutely. But
Right.
I think in the long game, we're playing it smart. What do you think, Will?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we're not going to feel the loss of a Tim Settle and a Matt Ioannidis and even a Landon Collins. But it's also some of those guys that, like, again, these are your backups that are leaving.
Yeah.
They're going to greener pastures in some of the situations. And so let's do what we did with them before. Settle and Ioannidis were 5th-round picks. Let's go get another 5th-round pick and put it on a D tackle. Let's replace them that way. So they're all replaceable. While we will feel it, because at times they were productive in their tenure here. It's not the big loss of starters, And while we lost Eric Flowers by cutting him, we replaced him with Andrew Norwell as a starter, and we saved money, So that's a big deal too.
Yeah, and exactly. It's the moves we're making. We're doing. It's looking good. It lends to optimism. It makes you feel optimistic about, okay, we're controlling the money right. We're kind of bringing right. I like this. Now, like I alluded to though earlier, we could be better, and in this, in the beginning of offseason, there was a list of guys I know I had, and I know you did as well, Will, that we said, oh, if we can get it, we can get this guy, we can get that guy, we can, get these different guys. Now, obviously, like I said, the QB was a big place that we needed, a big hole we needed to fill, and there was the Aaron Rodgers and the Wilsons and all of these guys, but that would have cost too much. And what we're doing right now lends to us really looking forward to the future and having Wentz there. But it does beg the question, who did we miss out on?
Yeah, so like there was a certain player out there that has torched us for years.
Yeah.
And he was a favorite of our new starting quarterback. And I thought, oh my gosh, is there a chance that Carson Wentz might be able to lure Zach Ertz to DC? Are we going to turn into that Philly offense with two dynamic tight ends and and who's going to cover these guys and exploit the other team's linebackers? I got really excited like on Sunday night. I'm like, oh my gosh, this might be happening. And he signed on Sunday night. He signed for a big money deal, and he was out. He wasn't even a chance. So that one kind of stung. But the other position is, as we've talked about already a couple of times, is we really thought middle linebacker was going to be improved, and I really thought we were going to improve this in free agency.
Yeah,
I really thought we were going to bring in a veteran. Everything that all the reporters that I follow and listen podcasts for have been saying is we are going to go after a middle linebacker, and they've identified it as this is a position we have to improve. Ron needs his Luke Kuechly. We still don't have a veteran middle linebacker right now, so
No.
I'm not exactly sure what's happening here. There are some names out there, but I thought that if we were going to stretch our budget at all, if we were going to have one of these creative contracts where it's like it's 3 years at $50 million, but the first year is $2 million, one of those types of deals, I thought it'd be for a middle linebacker, and it hasn't happened yet. So I'm kind of surprised by that. What about you? Who would you wish we went after?
Honestly, I mean, just like we've been talking about, guys coming back to Washington or having some familiarity with Washington, I wanted to go in a position that we've talked about, wide receiver. Wide receiver, we are very young. We have the Cam Sims, we have the Terry McLaurin, Samuel, those guys. We need age, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking to multi-year huge deal, but I am talking somebody that knows this place and somebody that you need a 3rd and 7. You know what I mean? You need something to keep the drive moving. He's proven he can do it. And he did it with the last time we had a decent quarterback in Kirk Cousins. And it was Jameson Crowder. Jameson Crowder is solid. He was solid for the Jets. I loved him in Washington. Never wanted to see him go to get away from us. And that was one where I was like, man, he can come in here. He knows how to do it. He needs a veteran. Let's get him to kind of help the younger guys, tell them the ins and the outs of certain routes and certain things that you can do to help keep your body up. That is something that I really wanted. I really wanted to get at wide receiver because we need that. You know what I mean? And I'll go along with that. Also, tight end. Austin Hooper was another guy. You were talking about Ertz. And yes, he was one of the guys I mentioned, a couple weeks ago, but I didn't think necessarily outside of the connection that he had with Wentz that we maybe had the wallet to get him, you know what I mean, or the money to get him, or that he would, it is still Washington. Some people, big name guys still are kind of like, I don't know how I feel about going to Washington per se, So one of the guys I was looking at, Austin Hooper, quality tight end, big number. You talk about that 2 wide receiver system that Wentz had, where he had Goddard and Ertz. That would be perfect. Logan Thomas, Austin Hooper, 2 guys that could potentially go right up the seams. And you know how he feels about his tight ends. So the offense is that those 2 places I was really looking at because I feel like that's somewhere that would have really helped him get more comfortable. You know what I mean?
I love your Crowder suggestion. You're right. I really wish we had gotten a chance to come bring him back because I think he would have been perfect. Yeah. I wish we hadn't lost him. So, yeah, no, you're right. And even just, again, improving the tight ends. Those are 2 great thoughts.
Yeah. Also, we talked about defense as well. You talked about middle linebacker. Wagner is out, and we'll discuss him. But age and price tag, that's one thing. For me, guy just got picked up by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Shout out to my guy, Sidney Swinton. He's excited. Miles Jack, played with Jacksonville, went to school at UCLA. He was a utility guy. They had him on some running back. They had him at linebacker. Definitely, he's one of those Swiss Army knives. I loved him. I thought he would bring some leadership, some seniority to that position, and he's just a very active, mobile guy in the middle. And that, like you said, we need that middle linebacker. It's no secret that that's something we need. So I thought we would go after somebody like that. And one of the other positions that I was all about was corner. Guy that I've watched last several years. We could get him cheap. Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods is somebody that I was like, let's bring him in as opposed to signing Apke and David Johnson again. Let's bring in somebody that's going to play. You know what I mean? I get, actually I don't get that because he would have been cheap, man. So, what do you think about that?
Did he sign with somebody? Let me see.
I don't. Did he?
They're looking for Xavier Woods. Let's see if they'll update quick enough. All right, let's see. Woods. I'm not seeing him just yet quickly, but of course, when you're on the spot, it's hard to find. Wait, you talking about Xavier Rhodes from Indy?
It was Xavier Rhodes. Yes, I was listening to
Rhodes.
Xavier Rhodes.
He's still available. Yeah. I think, and I think it has to do with where are they going to allocate the money? And you're right. I mean, he fits the perfect. He's a veteran. He doesn't need big money at this point in his career. He can come in and play the 2 or the 3 for a corner. I would love that signing as well. It's a good idea.
Yeah. Shout out to Ryan Durham saying our rookie tight end looked very good, so I don't think it's a huge need. Hey, I like that. You know, we talked about the guy out of Boise State all last year. Hands, he is short-handed. He can't separate, but he definitely a guy that, you know, possession receiver, great blocking. I like that move. I absolutely like it. For me, maybe, I mean, having him as number 2, I could have him as my number 2, but also maybe potentially put him in as number 3 if we were going to bring in somebody. Hooper's just somebody that I liked, and Ertz, you were talking, which just guys that we like. But yeah, thank you for that comment. Yeah. Thank you for that comment, because I do like what he brings to the table. We shouted him out last year, Will.
He was one of the few bright spots of our draft class.
Yeah. And he's saying, I'm very excited to see Samus' progression. I don't know. This is where I might have to disagree with you on this. Yeah. I think, I like the move. I like bringing him in and everything like that. But I think the fact that we really did not see him get on the field, even towards the end of the year when we knew the injuries and everything were coming in, and he could have definitely came in. The fact that Bates came in there and took charge of that position, I don't know if there's room for Samus. I mean, I would love to keep him here as a rah-rah. You know, where's Anton, Mr. Moral Support? You know, as a locker room guy, but I don't know if we can justify. Maybe put him on a practice squad. You know, what do you think, Will?
Yeah, I think this is the prove it year for Samus. He's got to show that he earns that spot, because we kept him last year because we thought we'd lose him if we put him on the practice squad. But he's got to show he's earned it, because I don't think we have the ability to have that guy on our team that we just don't dress every week. We need guys who can get out there and help us. So yeah, I mean, obviously he's got a whole off season to improve. So, but like, yeah, I'm kind of the idea of like, he's got to show it now if he's going to stay.
Absolutely. So, hey, shout out to him, because he looks like he has promise, you know, but yeah, he's got to definitely do something this year for us. And it kind of lends us to that question. We talked about, you know, who do we miss out on, but there are some people, like we talked about Xavier Woods, he's still available. There are some people that are still available. Another guy that just got released today or yesterday, Trey Waynes, corner from the Cincinnati. You know, he got I found he's just been made available. So, you know, where do we go? You know, we kind of talked about what we're thinking, some of the positions that we obviously know we need. You know, free agency isn't over, in the draft, yes, it's right around the corner. But where of the people who are available right now, where do we go, Will?
Yeah, there's a couple positions I think we can still go after, and this is where we're going to get our bargain signings. This is where we're going to get Charles Leno, 1 year, $5 million. You know, what we got in June of last year. He was our starting left tackle. That's the type of deals we're looking at right here. First off, at wide receiver, I'd like to re-sign DeAndre Carter.
Yes.
I really like what he brought to our table last year. He made more plays at receiver than I anticipated. Yeah. And so I don't think there's a big market for him. So I would love to bring him back and let him be our kick returner again and spot play a little bit. There are a couple tight ends, as we keep talking about here, this position. We're kind of beating this position down. Jared Cook, Eric Ebron, and old man Jimmy Graham are all the pass catching types they remind me of the Ricky Seals-Jones position. Like it, and to it only says Facebook user, so I'm sorry, I don't know who it is.
Ryan.
To Ryan's point, I would rather see us go Logan and John Bates most of the time, because Bates has that flexibility. Is he going round routes and blocking? But if we do need to run 2 tight end sets with wide receiving tight ends, I mean, Eric Ebron can get open. He can catch it, you know. Right. So that type of stuff is someone I'd look at. There are still a lot of middle linebackers out there. Mm-hmm. There are still a lot of big names out there. Yeah. Dante Hightower hasn't been signed. Anthony Hitchens is out. I
think Hightower got picked up. I think he got picked up by Dallas.
What?
Yeah, I think he got picked up by Dallas. They were talking about that on Sunday.
Oh, well, this website fooled me. I apologize for that.
You're good.
There's a couple guys we've mentioned: Jayon Brown, Kyle Van Noy.
Yep.
They're still out there. Quan Alexander was the guy I said spend big money on this guy. He's cheap, he's young, and he's fast. So there's big guys out here right now. Maybe there's a way for us to figure out the cap. And then last position I've got is safety. I don't think they're going to do it. I think they feel more comfortable at the safety position than I do. They like Bobby McCain at free safety more than I do. But there's some guys out there we still talk about Honey Badger. I really doubt he would come here. But what about Jabril Peppers?
Yep.
He could play punt returner. He might be able to play that Buffalo nickel role of Landon Collins.
Yeah.
What about in Pittsburgh, Terrell Edmonds?
Yep.
He could play that Buffalo nickel role. And then pick up the dude from Eagles. I keep saying Rodney McLeod. He's from UVA. He can play free safety. So there's a couple guys there that there's still talent out there. And the longer they stay out there, the cheaper their contracts are going to be because they're going to be on 1-year prove-it deals. And this is where you can find some steals. Who do you have in mind?
So again, talking about tight end, talking about offense, Will Fuller, somebody that we looked at a year ago. I'd be down to going back with that veteran help at wide receiver. Definitely somebody to have in my mind, and maybe on a 1-year deal because I don't want to do this for too long. But one of the things that really shocked me about all the mess that Cleveland was doing, Javaris Landry is a free agent. Talk about a veteran being able to get picked up and come on a team and really set our receiving staff the right way. And he he's a type of receiver that's just focus on my thing, come in, be the first guy in, last guy out, help the young guys like an Art Monk-ish, let's get somebody that can help to push McLaurin over the top, that gets Samuel and takes pressure off of him, and that could be a reliable force, something like a Jameson Crowder, to our quarterback, something that we're definitely going to need. So that is definitely something. Kyle Van Noy, Quan Alexander, both those guys we looked at a year ago, and they're available again. Reggie Ragland to go with our whole theme of Alabama on defense. You know what I mean? So get him in here. Love Jabril Peppers. Love that thing. And as we were talking earlier, I was kind of like when Landon was on the team, I was like, bring Jabril in with Landon. Jabril's available. Let's see what he's got. See if he'd be interested in coming on with us. Maybe that first year is not as is kind of an inexpensive contract, but then maybe work it out with some sensitive things that next coming years. Jesse Bates, we talked about him earlier, and one of the people I thought was going to get some kind of a big name contract with kind of the season he had at Cincinnati. He's still around. He's still available. So, at corner, though, there's positions that we definitely need to be filled, and they're out there, like you said, and obviously, in the spirit of getting my small white wide receiver, my single white female wide receiver, Chad Beebe, baby, still available. Look, he's still available. He's still there. All you need to do is run 7 yards, turn around, catch it. You're out the game. You get your contract. I don't understand. He's got good pedigree. It's all about pedigree. All right.
You can have your Chad Beebe, and I'll raise you Adam Humphries.
Oh. Did he have some of the most catches on our team this week?
He did. That's sad.
So yeah, it was sad. Shout out to Ryan, who's been watching us the whole time. He said, with the players on the team, what is starting O-line looking like? Do you think Ron has free agent moves, or is he taking the draft? Great question. I do think that he is kind of leaning more towards the draft, as some of the things that we talked about is him not making any big flashy moves. We talked about a year ago at this time, you got Curtis Samuel, William Jackson III, Fitzpatrick, you know what I mean? These bigger moves, and we saw kind of what happened as opposed to the year before when we got, McKissick and Logan Thomas, and it was under the radar, and we're like, who are these guys? But now they're doing it. So I think he's looking for the draft. I think he's trying to build through the draft. Will, what do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I agree with you 100%. I think he's going towards the draft at this point, and I think some of it is strategically, and it comes with dollars. Part of the reason they designated Landon Collins a June 1st cut is they get more money. We had talked about it where if they cut him now, he's worth $7 million. It's further. I think it's up around like 11 after June, but you don't have that money right now. And so therefore, basically, this is setting ourselves up after the draft to make moves of re-signing guys like Deron Payne or potentially Terry McLaurin. Because if now you look at Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams and their contracts, well, at one point we thought, Terry's going to get $20 million a year. Now he might have to get a whole lot more than $20 million a year. We may be going quarterback range. He may be up near Carson Wentz. We may be having to go up to $25 million, a year for Terry. And so I think they're being very, very careful with where they spend their money so that they are able to, extend Payne, see if they can extend Terry. And it's going to cost a lot more now than we had thought. But I wish we would be more active. We named so many guys out here. I wish we would go after some of these guys. But I do think our next step is going to be the draft.
Yeah. Absolutely. And look, Ryan, shout out to you for watching us, and thank you for these questions, man. We appreciate them. Yeah, look, for two people that are sitting here trying to think up topics and things to talk about for the show, one of the hardest things is when there's nothing going on in Washington. It's like, all right, we talked about that last week. All right, let's talk about how we feel about this again. You know what I mean? But I mean, hey, but there's good things with that though, Will. Because like you said, we're not making all these big flashy moves. We're not Albert Haynesworth or Deion Sanders or Bruce Smithing it up and getting these big old guys that look good on Madden. You know what I mean? I think we're being responsible with the money to the point you said. Terry, we got to extend him soon. Our two defensive ends are coming up in a couple years, and we got to get those guys. We need to be smart with it right now. Play the long game, and that's what it looks like is happening.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, buddy, we definitely love that. And look, there's a lot of people that are still out there that we can still look at, and we're gonna, but we'll see how it plays out. Me personally, I talked about this last week. The draft is where my focus is. I definitely want to go into the draft because I think that is something where we can really work out getting some top tier players for a lower price. I think it's something that's going to definitely help us here in the near future. Aaron said, Ron needs to stop picking players up. Hey, if we can keep it on the low, what you think? Well,
it's the next. It was two different comments. He needs to stop picking players up from his last team, and they need to take a middle linebacker.
Oh.
No, he's right. We need to stop picking up Commander players.
Yeah, we're not the Commanders.
It's getting ridiculous, and there's links that we may go after Star Lutulele, who Ron drafted, I think, or something.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, he'd be good. He would be good. I won't be upset about it. But like, come on, how many doggone ex-Panthers do we need on this team?
Oh, absolutely. And it begs the question, Ron, do you still want to be in Carolina? I mean, you bringing everybody from Carolina up here, we're